So one of the problems of being friends of AM3 is you get rassled into doing a demo. So this is Andrew. He's also a YouTuber, and he has volunteered to let me demonstrate how to put on the SWAT T tourniquet as well as the Israeli trauma dressing. So this is the Israeli trauma dressing, and it's basically an ACE wrap and a trauma pad, but it has a nice pressure plate and a loop. Now this loop is, if I needed to apply it myself, I can put an arm or a leg through it, and it gives me an anchor point so I can self-apply. But if we're going to put it on Andrew, if he had a wound right here, you want to put the pad right on top of the wound, and you just catch that bottom loop. Now on this part, you're just going to pinch and drop through, and you can use this as a handle and tighten up. Do that 3 times. Now with your hand, you're going to take your palm and your thumb and crank down on that pressure plate, and that puts pressure directly on the wound. Now the next wrap, I'm going to go above and below and catch the 2 ears and secure it in place. And the nice thing, the way this is designed, I never have to let go of this pressure plate, so I'm going to come around, and then with this thumb I'm going to hold it in place and then catch it. And I never had to let go of the pressure that this is putting on top of the wound. Now the next wrap is going to go right around on top. And then this little clip at the end, you're going to grab and secure that in place. So if we're going to apply this with a little bit of a tourniquet pressure, I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. So I capture that top loop, I'm going to come around and get the bottom loop. Now I'm just going to put the next wraps on, but not quite as tight, because what you're going to do is take this clip and pick up 1, 2 layers, stick this through, and now you're going to use it as a windlass, and you're going to put pressure on that wound until the bleeding is controlled, and then all you do is just clip this underneath and it secures it in place. We're going to go over the application of the SWAT T tourniquet. And the nice thing about this tourniquet is it's a small package, can easily go in your pocket. But the nice thing about it is in this one small package you have 3 different tools. You've got a tourniquet, you've got a pressure dressing, and you've got an ACE wrap. So let's put it on as a tourniquet. To put it on as a tourniquet, I'm going to stretch this so the rectangles turn to squares, and that is a tourniquet. If I apply it about halfway, we now have a pressure dressing. So to put it on as a tourniquet, you're going to wrap it once, and all you're doing is securing the tail. Now on the top and the bottom, I'm going to stretch and go rectangle, square, rectangle, square. And the last wrap here, I'm going to just go around loosely, and we'll take the last bit, fold it in half, and then you just peel down the top layer and stick that underneath, and now it's secured, and he doesn't have a pulse, so we know that we've applied a tourniquet. We're going to use the SWAT T as a pressure dressing. So instead of, when we did it as a tourniquet, we applied the tourniquet between the wound and the heart. So we put it halfway in between on the arm. In this case, we're going to take, we'll take one of our battle packs and take a pad out. And if Andrew had a wound right here and we wanted to apply a pressure dressing and not a tourniquet above, what we're going to do is just take a good heavy blood-soaking trauma pad, put it on there. Now we'll put the SWAT T on top, and in this case, instead of applying it so that it's a tourniquet, we're going to apply it part way. And at the end, we're going to want to be able to feel a pulse. So I'm going to put just a little bit of stretch, and I'm going to crisscross above and below the wound, putting pressure on that pad. And I can stop part way and feel that there's a pulse. If there's not a pulse or it seems to be too diminished, you can simply loosen this up and reapply it. And then all I'm going to do on the end is I'm going to take that last little bit, fold it in half, and stick it underneath. And then when I'm done, I just want to verify that I've got a pulse, which I do, and I put enough pressure on here to stop the bleeding. So Andrew asked a great question. The question was, the first time when we put it on as a tourniquet, where did we put it? If the wound was here, we're going to apply the tourniquet between the wound and the heart, so we applied it above the wound. In the case of putting it on as a pressure dressing, we put the gauze pad right on top of the wound and then applied the swat as a pressure dressing on top of the Now there's one more use for this tourniquet. And again, not using it as a tourniquet, we're going to use the SAM splint. And if Andrew had a fracture in his forearm, we're going to gently put him in about 90 degrees at the elbow. You take the SAM splint, fold it in half, and then you just bend a gentle curve on both sides. And we're forming something called a sugar tong splint. So it acts like a sugar tong. We're going to put it on his arm, coming down to cover the wrist. You can have him hold one end. And now we're going to take the SWAT T and use it as an elastic ace wrap. And it's a perfect combination with the SAM splint because it's waterproof, and it's acting as a nice waterproof ace wrap. So again, the first step is just to catch that tail underneath here, which I'm doing on the first wrap. And the nice thing about this is I can apply a little bit of compressive force on this SAM splint, but not so much that I'm cutting off circulation. And I think Andrew will probably tell you that it's snug but not uncomfortable. And again, all we're going to do is take the last little bit and tuck it underneath. And I don't need anything extra to secure that in place. And at the very end, I want to make sure that he's got good perfusion down there. In other words, his skin is getting good blood flow. And if you want, you can even reach underneath here and verify that there's a pulse. So that's the application of the SWAT T as a ace wrap. So we want to thank Andrew for being such a good sport here and letting me traumatize his arm. So just want everybody to know, so we've got these available on our website. This SWAT T is a great tool. Again, it works well with the SAM splint, and we've got the Israeli dressing, and we also have these battle packs, which is a nice way to get a bunch of gauze and some tape at a very inexpensive price. And again, thank you to Andrew for being such a good sport. Thank you. I'm going to give you this, so you can have this battle pack.
Awesome. Thank you.